So, how many of us have that relationship that you haven't reached out, you haven't talked, you haven't texted, you haven't Facebook liked, you haven't done anything for that relationship in a while? Can I see a raised show of hands? Okay. So, my talk today is called The 5 R's of Rescuing Relationships. And I'm going to invite you to think about a specific relationship as I talk, so this conversation will have scope for you and you'll be thinking about your particular call to action. So I'm a big fan of the show Seinfeld. Anybody else? Am I alone? Thank you, Kate. So specifically, there's a great scene where George Costanza is talking about how he has come up with the perfect comeback. So the first R of rescuing relationships is to refrain from saying that perfect comeback, because if you say that word or that horrible thing to the person that you're trying to resuscitate the relationship with, you're probably not going to be on the way to resuscitating that relationship. You will inevitably have regret and have to apologize for that and say, I said the perfect thing to you in my head, but it really hurt your feelings, and I'm very sorry about that. So the first R in rescuing your relationships is to refrain from saying the thing that's hurtful, even though it may seem like the right thing to say at the time. The second R of rescuing your relationships is what I like to call reframe. It's been very popular lately with people talking about situations that are difficult and how you can make it better by putting spin on it. So specifically, we find what we look for, right? So if I have a conflict with a coworker and I say, gosh, that person, they're always late, they're never on time, they're totally disorganized, I have that idea in my head. So that ladder conversation is already happening. So I have one step on the ladder, they're disorganized. The next step on the ladder is they're not on time. So then the next time I have an interaction with them, I'm already on the ladder of they are not worthy of my time. So I keep building that story. So I'm going to invite you, if you have a relationship like that, think about how you can reframe it to be positive. Maybe they have life things going on, right? Like maybe they have a new baby, and so they're trying to figure out what their new reality looks like. And it's not that they're disorganized, it's that people who are helping them are disorganized, or they don't have the time to do what they did before. So I want you to invite you to reframe. That's step 2 in rescuing your relationships. So our third step is a little bit harder to quantify. Recapture. So number 3 is to recapture why you chose this relationship in the first place. So it could be a friendship that maybe you don't connect on everything the way that you used to. Albert Einstein said that the definition of friendship is born when the other person looks at you and says, me too. You too? You get it? Meaning that you're on the same plane. Unfortunately, it doesn't always stay that way. You may have a relationship for a season, a reason, or a lifetime. The issue that I run into is that it's not always a lifetime. And that's kind of where I start with every relationship, thinking it's going to be always, 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 always. And often there's a season to it. And it's really important to respect whatever that level is going to be for you. So recapture is personal for me because I could stand up here and talk benignly about relationships that you need to resuscitate or rescue. Very specifically, I will tell you that my husband and I, who've been married for 7 years, have been having some problems. And it's not an easy thing for me to admit, but it's difficult. And I'm much more willing to talk about something once I've solved it. I think a lot of people in the room are like that, right? Like, I want to tell you about this great success that I had. And in keeping with our theme today, maintenance of your relationship is kind of what all of these steps are about. So recapturing for me is remembering why I chose my husband in the first place. One of the things I love about him is he is super thoughtful and extremely generous. There are times when that causes friction between us. Right now, I'm trying to focus on recapturing why I love that about him, why that's important to me, why that's important to our relationship, seeing how he is with our daughter, the generosity that he gives to people he doesn't even know. So specifically, my husband is the kind of person that if you needed a shirt, he'd give you the shirt off his back. You know how the saying goes. Even more than that, if he didn't have a shirt to give, he would take the things that are on the ground and create a shirt and give it to someone else before he would ever think of himself. So that's an example of recapturing something about my husband that has helped me on this pathway of what we're going through right now, which is rescuing our relationship. So that's step 3. Step 4 is very, very hard. So stick with me, okay? It's called reach. It means you should reach out. And if that person that you're thinking about, this can be a romantic relationship, this can be a friendship, 9 times out of 10, I reach out to that person and literally I'll get something back going, I was just thinking about you, or I thought about that time that we had a great time out at the Christmas under the lights at Zilker, or, there was something specific that made me think of you. My grandmother was what people call a psychic. I don't know if you believe in that. I don't care. She knew when I stubbed my toe. She knew when I sprained my ankle. She knew when I got a part in a play I was dying to have. She also knew when I got rejected. So she would call me and say, Jennifer, I heard that this did not go well for you. I said, how did you hear that? I haven't even called my mom yet. She says, well, I just knew. So I don't consider myself to be psychic. I think that there is such a thing as a gut instinct, and I follow that. So if the thought process is that you're thinking about this person and you're going, I really should reach out to them, reach out to them. And the other part of reach is doing something for them they'll like. How many of you know the 5 love languages? Check it out. It's a fantastic series of understanding how people relate and what they need. Like for me, my love language is words of appreciation. So someone saying, hey, J-Mac, you did an awesome job on this. Hey, Jennifer, thanks so much for taking care of the baby this morning so I could sleep in. FYI, that's actually more my husband's role for me because I like to sleep in. It's what I consider my 6th love language. There are 5. Anyway, so back to reach. A big part of this is if you feel distance from that person, reach out and do 3 things for them, but don't ask for credit. Don't be like, I did the dishes. I'm great. Because that takes away the gift, right? So do 3 things for them and see how they react. You may be really, really surprised at how much that can take you down the road when you've been estranged or not fully together. So the 5th and final step, and this is the most important one, is reinvest. So maybe you've been busy. We all do get that busy, but that maintenance of your relationship could not be more important. Specifically in my example about my husband, my primary relationship, really need to rescue that one, and that's something that we're working on. We definitely are using some of these steps, some to better success than others. Reframing is the one I really, really struggle with the most. If he doesn't answer his phone, my immediate thought is, why is he ignoring me? So then I have to check myself and go, okay, that's not what's going on. He's probably taking care of our daughter, or he's doing something else. But in the meantime, it's important for me to remember these 5 steps. I'm going to go over them one more time. Refrain from saying that perfect thing that's going to zap your partner or your person that you're trying to rescue the relationship with. Reframe. Think the best of someone, because if you look for the bad, you'll find it. So look for the good. Recapture. Remember why you chose the relationship in the first place. Reach out to them, whether that's a text, a Facebook message, or a phone call. Do that. Reach. And most importantly, reinvest. Spend the time that you need to take to reinvest in these relationships. I beg of you, whatever relationship that you need to rescue, take that moment after this meeting and do that today. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, Gina. That was